Though I thought that we wouldn't be doing any major projects while we're traveling, I should have known better because this is us that we're talking about here.
But there's one thing here that completely defies all of that. It looks completely out of place in the landscape. It's way out in the middle of nowhere.
We've been driving on dirt roads for hours.
And we're coming up on it now, and my eyes just don't really believe that it's there. It just looks so weird.
We kind of got defeated. We didn't make it to Colorado like we wanted to, and to be honest, we don't even know if we're going to. Pretty crappy because most states are not like that, but Colorado is. I think the thing that really ruined it for me was the dust. So I'm making us some pancakes and Stuart is making himself some bacon for breakfast. But obviously we are in a different spot than we were in yesterday, and that's because we went for a walk at the end of the day and walked up on the hill and realized that the breeze that we had been missing was actually on the hill above us and the trees that we were next to were blocking it. And so we decided to move. It was a no-brainer. And we did that late last night, and this is definitely a better spot. Better breeze, better view, just in all ways better. The other thing we didn't like about where we were, and I don't know if this is just a Kansas thing or if it's specific to this field, but there were ants literally everywhere. I've never seen ants like that, little small ones that wanted to bite you. Not fire ants, they were something different, but the ground was covered in them. And we tried to eat our dinner outside, and the expression "about as welcome as ants to a picnic" was floating through my head the entire time because there were ants crawling up our legs, we were brushing them off our arms, it was just insane. So we don't seem to have that problem here, and it's a big improvement on how things were. But we're gonna fuel up our bodies, and then we have a few things that we need to knock out today, so.
We've definitely got space for a bigger engine. Now if we need even more room, we can ditch the vacuum brake booster in favor of a later model hydro.
So at this point, I think that everybody knows that we are powering our trip via solar and the solar system that we built. And at this point, everybody has seen us rearranging our solar panels many, many times. And we've had more than one person ask us, why don't you just mount them on the roof of your RV? Because that's literally what everybody else does. And our big hesitation with it was that we're not going to be keeping our Shasta forever. Someday we're going to be upgrading to something else. And we were hesitant about putting holes in the roof and leaving brackets behind, but after moving these solar panels around maybe 2, 3, 4 times, it has gotten really, really old, and we're ready to not have to do that anymore, which is no shocker. I mean, that's probably why most people put them on the roofs of their rigs and their buses and everything else. And so even though I thought that we wouldn't be doing any major projects while we're traveling, I should have known better, because this is us that we're talking about here, and we're always doing projects. And so today, our big project is going to be taking our solar panels and putting them up there. It's gonna make our lives a whole lot easier to just go ahead and do this,
Then you
because
get the bed back, you don't have to crawl in and undo ratchet straps.
having to mess with these panels every single time we move or whenever the sun shifts or whatever, it's just become a little bit more than we want to deal with. So that's what we're doing today. All right, turn it to your right. I'm just gonna rest it on the edge of the RV for a second. Got it. It's been a really long day, and all I want is to take a shower and eat some food and not really do a whole lot else the rest of the day. So, see you guys in a little bit.
There's a new day that will come again tomorrow. There's a new day to wash away the pain. There's a new day to take away your sorrow, and the old ways get washed out by the rain. Darling, you've got to keep holding on through the night, 'cause I promise you this: if you try to get some sleep, if you give up the fight, if only just for a bit, there's a new day to leave behind your troubles. There's a new day, and it will set you free.
So we left this morning, keep pushing northwestish, and before we left Kansas, there was something that we wanted to make sure we came and saw, just because when you think of Kansas, you think flat, open, prairies, plains, all the kind of stuff that you guys have seen. But there's one thing here that completely defies all of that. It looks completely out of place in the landscape. It's way out in the middle of nowhere.
We've been driving on dirt roads for hours.
And we're coming up on it now, and my eyes just don't really believe that it's there. It just looks so weird. We are at Monument Rock?
Monument Rocks.
Never would have known this place was here if we hadn't had a recommendation. It sounds hollow. And it's like 90 degrees and the air is so incredibly dry. Like everything is coated in like a film of dust, including everything on our RV now. I think Stuart and I are still feeling pretty lagged from everything that we did yesterday, getting the solar panels mounted. That was such a job, and I don't think that we're completely recovered from it yet. It really wiped us out. It was like 100 degrees yesterday and 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Being out in that all day long really takes it out of you. But we didn't even really stay at Monument Rocks that long. We kind of wanted to try to push ahead and figure out where we're going to stop for the night, and that's what we're doing right now. We thought we were going to stay on some public land in Kansas, in like northwest Kansas, but turns out it's not really free, and it's like $5 a night, but we're trying to economize our travels and save money any way we can. And the Colorado border is really, really close by, and there are WMAs, wildlife management areas, just over there that are 100% for sure free. No hookups or anything like that. It's basically just land where you park. So we're taking a little bit of a pit stop to stretch our legs and use the restroom and let the dogs get out a little bit. But I think that's where we're probably going to be heading, just because might as well. We're trying to save money, and that way we can knock Colorado off our list of places that we've been, which is pretty cool too. But yeah, keep on pushing ahead. I think today is a good example of how hashtag full-time RV life is not always as glamorous as people make it out to be.
Yeah.
We kind of got defeated. We didn't make it to Colorado like we wanted to, and to be honest, we don't even know if we're going to. I'll get into that in a little bit. But because we spent so much time driving on dirt roads today, the inside of our RV looks like the Dust Bowl. I don't know if you can tell, but everything is covered in a sheen of dust. So we literally have to wipe down any surface before we use it, unless we want to come away just covered in white powder, and not the fun kind either. So but it's okay, tomorrow's a new day, we'll figure it out then. We treated ourselves to some cheap Mexican food, which is always good, so it could be worse. Let me turn the camera around though so you guys can see, because I'm looking in here and it's even worse than I thought it was. I turned on the lights and now it's terrible. That's all dirt. There's a bunch of dirt back there, but you can't tell because it's all covered, so it just looks like the same color.
Oh no. Oh, bad. That is bad.
There's all dirt in here. It came in through the slides because the slides aren't a perfect seal when they're shut.
Looking? Come look at this floor. Look, it looks fine, right?
Apollo's like, are we playing? Oh my gosh.
That's the normal color.
Oh.
So here's the deal with Colorado, and I don't know why we didn't think of this last night. I guess we were just so tired and out of it, it didn't really occur to us. We were so focused on staying at like a WMA, but with the state of Colorado, any state property, you have to have a permit, or you have to buy a permit for either a hunting license or fishing license, which runs up to like $100, or an annual pass, which is like $30, or a day use fee, which is like $9. So it doesn't end up actually being free. It's pretty crappy because most states are not like that, but Colorado is. However, there is a way around it if you want to go to Colorado, and we do. I love Colorado. It's been a long time since either of us have been there. You just stay at a national park, because national land obviously doesn't fall under the jurisdiction of the state. It's federal. And if you stay there, you don't have to pay a fee to stay on the land. You can just go out and boondock and be happy and free.
Talking about those national parks and national grasslands?
Yeah. Just with how we couldn't stay at like a WMA or something like that in Colorado because they want you to pay a fee.
Yeah, they have a daily pass or a 5-day pass or a yearly pass. I'm not spending like $100 just to go stay on an abandoned state park. That's what those wildlife areas are.
Yeah. So we found Pawnee National Grasslands in Colorado, and that's where we're going to be heading today. But first we have to run to Walmart and grab a few things, and then we have to make a laundromat run and do some laundry, because we're hoping that we can kind of get out and be out for a while, and so we want to kind of knock out some errands first so that we aren't having to hitch up and leave and come back into town like 2 or 3 days into our stay there. So that's the update there with Colorado. Today is going to be our last few hours in Kansas, which honestly I'm really happy about, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Kansas was really interesting. I don't think that it was ever at the top of my list of places that I wanted to go or spend very much time in. And when Stuart and I were talking about our route that we were going to take going north, I even said that I didn't want to go to Kansas. But now I've been there, and I can say I've been there, and I can speak with confidence when I say that I absolutely never want to live there. But that doesn't mean that there weren't good things about it. And last night when Stuart and I were talking about our experience, we both agreed that we would give it about 6 out of 10 stars, because on the one hand, it was a place for us to really start to get into the boondocking groove. It also gave us a place to work and get our solar mounted, which is a huge deal, and it's going to make our life long term just a whole lot easier. So that's a silver lining. And there are parts of Kansas that are really unique and really beautiful. I mean, you've got Monument Rocks, for example, which is just an ecological, geographical phenomenon in and of itself, just out of the landscape of Kansas as a whole. There's these monument rocks, so that was really cool. And there are parts of Kansas, even though it's pretty monotonous and pretty much the same, that are really beautiful and do make you step back and go, huh, that's pretty special. So there is that. But I think the thing that really ruined it for me was the dust. There's just so much dust. Unless you're traveling through the state and you only stay on the interstate, to get anywhere interesting, you have to travel on dirt roads. And the dirt is just this really fine, nasty powder. And apparently they're going through a drought right now too. So as you can imagine, that further compounds things. it got into every single crevice in our RV. I still need to go through and really deep clean. I haven't even bothered cleaning the floors yet because we knew we were still going to be on dirt roads for a while, and I didn't want all the hard work to get ruined. But it's been a task just getting everything wiped down. It got into every little nook and cranny. It's absolutely disgusting. I couldn't deal with that if I lived in Kansas. And just that little bit that we experienced really put into perspective for me the whole Dust Bowl scenario back during the Great Depression, and people that had to live and deal with that every single day for years on end. I cannot imagine it. I mean, I know it's no surprise to me that people went crazy and took their own lives living through that, because it's just a terrible environment to have to live in. No human being should have to deal with that much dirt. And even the amount of dirt that we did deal with, I'm going on way too long about the dirt, but it really ruined things for me. And that was a huge detractor. And then also the landscape is just not super interesting. If you're a farmer and your bread and butter is agriculture, obviously it has its appeal. But as somebody who's just traveling through, not really anything there that is going to stick with me long term, other than the fact that it all looked the same. So there were good parts and there were bad parts to being in Kansas, but I'm happy to put that behind us now and have that just be a memory and a pin on our travel map. So all of that said, as far as the weekly reflection is concerned, it actually came to me yesterday or the day before, because Stuart and I were talking just about this whole experience and how crazy it is that we get to travel around the country together in our home and see all of these beautiful places that some people only ever see through their phone screens on like Instagram or something. And I told him that I don't think I am capable of intellectually like wrapping my head around the enormity of what we're doing, like stepping back out of the moment and looking at the overall forest for the trees. I don't have the ability to really comprehend and appreciate how huge this is. And Stuart said that he really couldn't either, and that he's just trying to live in the moment and appreciate every single moment and every single unique experience. And it really made me think that probably as human beings, that's how we're supposed to live. We're not supposed to be overwhelmed by the immensity of life and how huge and overwhelming everything can be. We're just supposed to exist in the moment and go from moment to moment and appreciate everything that comes into our lives, overcome every single challenge, and love each other through it. That's quite literally what it means to be a human being. And that didn't really resonate with me until we started doing what we're doing now, and I'm faced with this huge, amazing experience, and I can't even like fully wrap my head around it, and probably won't be able to for a long time because it's just so huge. But moment to moment, when I'm there and I'm experiencing it and I'm seeing these beautiful places and I'm watching the landscape roll by and I'm meeting these really nice people just randomly like at the laundromat or whatever, I really can appreciate that as being the special thing that it is in that moment, and then I go on to the next moment and so on and so forth. I think that's really special. I think there's a huge teacher in that idea, and it really resonated with me because as human beings, the only thing that we have is this present moment, because the past is already gone, it's just a memory, and the future does not exist outside of our imaginations and our brain's ability to create anxiety around it. So that is my reflection for the week, something that I've been thinking about a lot and probably will be throughout the rest of this experience and us being on the road and traveling and everything. So anyway, that is where I'm going to leave it for now. We're in a really, really cool spot in Colorado now, but if you want to see it, you're gonna have to stick around and subscribe and everything so that you are here for the next video. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I do hope, regardless, I will see you for the next one, whenever that may be.